former US president has been indicted of criminal federal charges. This, remember, is at a time when Trump is currently seeking 2024 Republican presidential nomination, but he's been indicted over the handling of the classified documents. It's the first time in American history that a former president has faced such federal criminal charges. The charges include making false statements, conspiracy to obstruct, and basically for retaining the classified documents. He's blaming Biden administration. Trump calls it the biggest witch hunt against him in the run-up to the election scheduled next year. But this is the second indictment of Trump, first ever federal indictment of a former president. This criminal case brought by US Department of Justice could be another blow because he is trying to regain and run for the US presidency next year.
I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. And we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now, again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. And this is what they do. No collusion after 2.5 years that was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats. But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things.
Let's bring in our Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, for the latest on that. Geeta, this is big news, not just about the charges, but the fact that Donald Trump is set to run as a presidential candidate again. So how does this what does this mean for American politics and global politics as much?
Well, it is a serious development, but Trump is hitting back hard with corruption charges he's leveling against the Biden administration, particularly President Biden. Having said that, the indictment in itself would mean that the prosecution would begin in the case of withholding information and taking confidential documents out of the White House when not in office. So serious charges against President Trump, and this could impact his nomination to run for the presidential race as a Republican nominee. We will have to wait and see how this really pans out. But for now, this is another serious step in charging Donald Trump with the Confidentiality and Espionage Act.
Yes, Geeta, please keep tracking the latest because this is big news, remember. What then means to the future of Donald Trump with regard to as a former US president, and what if he is actually then sent to prison on these charges? Thank you so much, Geeta, for the latest on this. I also want to go across to a guest joining us right now, former diplomat Deepak Vohra from the USA. Good morning, Mr. Vohra. It's good to have you here back on India Today. How should one look at this? Because he's not someone to just back down, take the charges. He will be fighting this head-on as well, and will, of course, be giving a lot of statements likely against the Biden administration. What and how much of significance should India see this as a case?
It's appropriate, ma'am, that I'm talking about this. Thank you very much. A pleasure to be with you and to learn from you. It's appropriate because, as you know, New York and Washington, there's tremendous amount of smog from the forest fires in Canada, and the pollution rate there. The air quality is much worse than we've ever had it in India's capital, New Delhi. But this is a political issue. This is the second indictment. The first was what we call a state indictment, but this is a federal indictment. And it's about his dealing of classified national security records, which is, he's being charged under the Espionage Act, ma'am. That's very serious.
Yes.
It's the counterpart of the Official Secrets Act in India. Now, what has he said? He said, you know, he's already been tweeting that I have been indicted and it is all rubbish and I'm being persecuted. It shouldn't happen to a former president of the United States. I am an innocent man. He is a geopolitical arsonist. He's not going to go down without a fight. So the cleavage that we are seeing in American society between his hardcore supporters, and he has many, many men, the middle America, they swear by Donald Trump because these are the MAGA fellows, make America great again. I've seen them, I've met them, I've been talking to them. And the rest of the people who think that this guy was a terrible character, we are going to see an eruption of, I hope I'm wrong, but I think there's going to be more violence on the streets. The police is on full alert, but there may be trouble and he has to go to Miami I think in the coming week he has to present himself before a judge to face these charges. What could happen is one of two things. His lawyers will argue for bail.
Correct.
If it is Miami, I'm not sure that the judge will give it to him. He might just say that take this guy to prison. And once that happens, in the US system, you may have been a former president, but once you're no longer protected by the immunity of the presidential office, then you are treated like any other ordinary citizen of the United States. Two possibilities, bail or jail. My suspicion, my assessment at this time is that he's going to get bail. He will fight this case, but the case is not going anywhere soon. It will take several years. Would this impact his ability to contest the next election? Not at all. He will. Till he is convicted, this is an indictment, man.
Yes,
first the charge sheet, then the indictment, till he is convicted, he can continue his campaign and he will fight the next election in case he wins the Republican nomination. At this point of time, it seems that he will. There's no one of his stature to challenge.
Do you think this is likely to become one of the biggest political issues as well? He's already blamed Democrats, Hillary Clinton. He's saying this is a witch hunt. With the presidential elections coming up in America, could this be one of the big issues that could also be of contention?
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be. If he is contesting, he's going to play the victim card to the hilt. He's a businessman, ma'am, and he knows how to tug at people's heartstrings. There used to be another Republican president, you're too young to remember, I'm 72, a character called Richard Milhouse Nixon.
Yes.
And he quit over the Watergate scandal because he had authorized break-in into the Democratic Party headquarters and so on. Before he could be indicted for a criminal offense, he just resigned. Now, Donald Trump also, you might remember, ma'am, that the day before he demitted office, he went around signing presidential pardons for everybody who was on his team and who did all these naughty things. So we are told. But whether he will be pardoned, he could be, if Joe Biden decides to be kind to him. In the event that he's convicted, then the only hope is a presidential pardon. My understanding is that such cases in the United States, which deal with espionage and official secrets, will probably go on for at least 36 months. And by then, the elections will be on us.
Very interesting. Diplomat Vohra, please stay on with me. I want the viewer to listen in again to what former President Donald Trump, who becomes the first in US history to be facing these federal criminal charges, what does he have to say once he was indicted?
I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. And we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now, again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. And this is what they do. No collusion after 2.5 years that was set up by Hillary Clinton and Democrats. But this is what they do. This is what they do so well. If they would devote their energies to honesty and integrity, it would be a lot better for our country. They could do a lot better. They could do a lot of great things.